You are closer to what you want than your physical eyes are telling you. That is where I want to begin today. Because if your life has already inspired a desire in you, that same life already contains the path, the people, and the timing that can fulfill it completely. The desire and the way to it are born in the same moment. What creates the delay is not a stubborn universe, fate, or luck. It is the gap between how the version of you who asked is vibrating and how the version of you who is already living it is vibrating. Today we are going to talk about closing that gap in a way that feels simple, modern, and human. Think of it like a phone update. The new software is already written. It already exists on the server. The moment you tap download, your phone begins to move toward that new version. The update does not need to be invented again for you personally. It just needs enough battery, enough storage, and for you not to keep canceling the download every time it hits 10%. Your desires are like that. The moment life makes you say, I want more ease and money, or I want a partner who actually gets me, a new energetic version of you is created and Source says an immediate yes. The update is live. What happens next depends on how often you emotionally cancel your own download. Instant manifestation is really just zero gap between what you want and what you believe. When you want something you already believe is normal for you, there is no tension. You expect it like you expect the kettle to boil when you switch it on. It's that easy, relaxed expectation is the frequency of done, and reality can match it very quickly. When you want something that feels far away, you are often holding two signals at the same time. One part of you is asking for it. Another part of you is broadcasting. It is not here, it is hard. It is probably not going to happen. The universe never argues with you. It simply mirrors the signal that is strongest and most consistent. You cannot unknow a desire once you have genuinely felt it. When life stretches you into a new preference, the larger part of you becomes that new version instantly. That is why you can never go back to an old relationship, an old job, or an old identity, and feel truly satisfied if it no longer matches who you have grown into. Your emotions are the discomfort of trying to live smaller than the self that already exists vibrationally. They are not punishment. They are feedback that says you asked for more. Please stop arguing for less. This is where your emotional guidance system becomes your superpower. In a world of algorithms, think of your emotions as your inner For You page. Whatever you give your consistent attention to, the system shows you more of. When you scroll mentally through lack, disappointment, and old hurts, your inner feed fills with content that matches that mood. When you lean even slightly toward relief, hope, or curiosity, your inner algorithm begins to push more of that to the top. You do not need to fight the algorithm. You only need to notice what you keep watching with your focus. Many people stumble on the question of worthiness. Who am I to choose a thriving business, a safe, beautiful home, a relationship that actually feels like love and not survival work? Is that spiritual enough? Is it too material? Here is the truth in simple, modern language. Spirit did not stay somewhere else while you came down here to suffer. Spirit has materialized as you. Your eyes, your ears, your brain, your hands, your phone screen. These are all sophisticated translators of vibration. You live in the meeting place of spiritual and material. There is no split. When you desire something, that desire is the divine expressing a preference through you. You being here is the proof that you are worthy to choose. You do not need another certificate. Every contrast you have ever lived has been quietly building what Abraham calls your vibrational escrow. You can imagine it as a private cloud folder where every I wish it could be like this instead has been automatically saved. Every time someone disrespected you, you added a file called I want mutual respect. Every time money was tight, you added files called I want stability, freedom, and fun. Every breakup, every uncomfortable job, every lonely night has generated incredibly precise requests. Source stands inside that folder, inside the completed relationship, the completed healing, the completed abundance, and says, it is done. We know who, we know when, we know how. We are not confused. If you say, there is nobody out there for me, while your inner folder is literally buzzing with a match, the discomfort you feel is not because you are wrong about life. It is because you are wrong about yourself. This is why it matters so much where you point your attention when there is no physical evidence yet. By the time you see an external result, about 99% of the creation is already complete energetically. The last 1% is the part humans call a miracle, but it is just the final refresh of the screen. While you are waiting for that refresh, you still have a choice. You can say, "Nothing is happening. It never works for me. I knew it," and tune to the frequency of absence. Or you can say, "If my life has made me want this clearly, then the energy is already organized. My only work is to line up with it bit by bit." The second choice does not pretend that you do not care. It simply refuses to worship the void. People often try to close the whole vibrational gap in one leap. You are down in despair or heavy fear, and you listen to one positive audio. And you try to sprint straight into joyful appreciation. The gap is too wide. It is like trying to tune an old-fashioned radio from a low buzzing station at the bottom of the dial straight to the clearest channel at the top in one tiny movement. You just get static and frustration. Your nervous system does not believe you, and law of attraction keeps handing you thoughts that match where you are, not where you are trying to pretend to be. There is nothing wrong with you. You are just attempting a jump that ignores the laws of your own energy. So instead of demanding bliss, reach for the next believable step. If you are in despair, anger may feel like progress. Anger has more movement, more life force. From anger, you might reach for frustration, then irritation, then a kind of exhausted indifference, then the first tiny flicker of hope. Each of those states is a closing of the gap. It is not about becoming a perfectly peaceful monk in one afternoon. It is about becoming just a little less against yourself than you were 10 minutes ago. Your emotions will show you every centimeter of progress if you stop judging them and start reading them like a dashboard. Let us use the battery metaphor correctly, because it can actually help. When you put batteries in a remote, you do not place both positive ends together and hope for the best. If you do, the device will not switch on, no matter how hard you press the buttons. There is power present, but it is not lined up. For current to flow, the batteries have to be arranged so that positive and negative work together in a circuit. In your life, the desire is like the positive terminal. The contrast you came from is like the negative terminal. The negative is not evil, it is simply the opposite end of the same story. When you keep staring only at what went wrong and you say this is all that is, you are like someone holding both batteries in your hand, arguing about whether they will ever work, instead of putting them into the channel that allows current to flow. When you acknowledge the contrast, take the lesson, and then deliberately place your attention on what it made you prefer, you are creating a circuit. You are not denying the negative end. You are allowing it to be the part that completes the flow, instead of the part you keep hugging to your chest. The key is that your thoughts and your feelings need to point in roughly the same direction as the reality you are asking for. You say you want a loving relationship, but you replay the breakup conversation every night before sleep. That is like pressing the power button on the remote while the batteries are still lying on the table. You say you want financial ease, but you tell every friend who will listen that nothing ever works out for you. That is like flipping one of the batteries the wrong way round and wondering why the television keeps turning off. You do not need to pretend those memories never happened. You simply need to stop treating them as a live broadcast and start treating them as old reruns that helped you choose better content. When you do that, something powerful happens. Your energy becomes less split. You stop sending mixed signals like "I want love, but people cannot be trusted," or "I want money, but wealth is corrupt." As that split closes, you become like a laser instead of a flickering torch. Abraham often says that one person who is tuned in, tapped in, and turned on is more powerful than millions who are not. Think about that in modern terms. One clear signal can reach thousands of devices at once. Scrambled signal cannot even stream a single video smoothly. You are not trying to overpower the world. You are simply learning to stop canceling your own broadcast. So how do you live this in a regular day that includes emails, kids' work, and traffic lights that never turn green fast enough? When something triggers, you pause for a breath and ask, what story am I telling myself right now? And how does it feel in my body? Notice the sentence. Nothing ever works out for me. Everyone leaves. I always mess things up. You do not need to argue with it. Just notice that it feels dense, sharp, or heavy. That feeling is your inner being saying, this is not how I see you, and it is not how I see what is possible. Then reach for a thought that is slightly softer but still honest. Not everything is perfect, but maybe. I have made it through difficult things before, or there might be at least one person out there who could be. Different, or I am willing to believe there is more support available than I can see right now. Sit with the slight relief of that new thought. You have just moved the dial. If you repeat this gentle practice, you start to live as a deliberate offer of vibration instead of a constant responder to conditions. You stop waiting for the external world to improve before you allow yourself any relief. You realize that feeling even a little bit better is what starts the improvement. You begin to understand that your environment is not testing you. It is partnering with you. It shows you contrast so that you can launch new preferences. Then it lines up cooperative components to match those preferences the moment you allow yourself to tune to them. The buffer of time between desire and manifestation becomes less of a torture chamber and more of an incubation period where you get to practice the version of you who will be comfortable living what you are asking for. So if you take nothing else from this, let it be this line that sums up the teaching in plain language. You are allowed to want what you want. The moment you truly want it, the universe says yes and begins organizing around you. Your only work is to close the vibrational gap between the fearful you who is looking at the absence and the expanded you who already stands in the presence. You close that gap not by forcing positive thinking, not by skipping over your feelings, but by using your emotions as a daily compass and reaching for the next honest thought that feels just a little bit better. When you catch yourself saying nothing is happening, try instead, I cannot yet see what is happening, but the energy is moving. When you catch yourself saying, there is no one out there for me, try instead, the relationship I want already exists in energy. My only job is to become the person who can receive it. When you hear your old story of unworthiness, remember that you are literally an expression of source energy, living at the cutting edge of creation. You do not have to earn your place here. You only have to decide that nothing is more important than aligning with your own inner signal. And from that place, you can wake up in the morning with a quiet, powerful sentence in your mind. Today, my only real task is to feel just a little better than yesterday, to notice the moments of relief, and to trust that those tiny shifts are closing a very real gap. If you walk through enough days like that, one morning, you look around and realize that what used to feel like a fantasy is now completely normal. That is what people call instant manifestation. From the outside, it looks sudden. On the inside, it was simply the day you finally let yourself become who you had already been all along.